If you're married or if you're in a serious relationship, you want to pay close attention to what it is I'm about to say because what I'm about to talk about could certainly affect not only your relationship, it could affect mine as well. And oftentimes, this is overlooked by a lot of men, especially. And if we're not careful, the person that we love, the relationship that we put so much into, can slowly erode and eventually it can fall apart. So pay close attention to what it is I'm about to say.
Oh, I'm just here to check on you. Are you okay? Describe it in words, you know what to say.
When you fall in love with someone, there is something that is taking place underneath the surface, so to speak, that keeps that relationship strong. And it's the emotional connection that takes place between you and the other person that you're with. However, the emotional connection, it is a very fragile layer, so to speak, of the relationship. If you're not cognizant of it, if you don't protect it, if you don't do everything you can to ensure that that bond stays intact, then what could happen is that your relationship again can slowly fade or it can completely fall apart because the person that you're with began to emotionally disconnect in the relationship. And oftentimes, a person may not realize it until it's too late. Now, on this channel, I'm going to be talking about emotional connection as well as emotional disconnection. In this particular video, I am focused on emotional disconnection, specifically for a woman. I'm going to talk about emotional disconnection for a man in a later video. However, this video and a number of videos that follow, I'm going to talk about this subject at a deep level. And by the way, women as well as men emotionally disconnect in different phases. And so be sure to pay attention and subscribe to this channel if you want to understand emotional disconnection at the deepest level. Now, emotional disconnection, it doesn't happen immediately or all of a sudden. Sometimes it's very quiet. I want you to think about that. Now, I'm talking about how a woman disconnects. She will sometimes start to disconnect from the relationship, and the man that she's with, he won't even know it. And in some cases, she won't even know it. All she knows is that something starts to feel different about her. She starts to see the relationship very differently. And even though she's given all of her effort, all of her time, and she's made herself emotionally available, at some point, if she is starting to be ignored, disregarded, made to feel that she's not important, then she can start to withdraw emotionally and start to suffer in the relationship. You know, when a woman realizes that something is shifting inside of her, that's a dangerous, dangerous area for her to be in. It doesn't mean the relationship is over. It doesn't mean that she doesn't care for the man anymore. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love him anymore. However, what she begins to realize and what she begins to think is that he does not love her anymore. Think about that, fellas. Think about the woman that you're with. If she starts to emotionally disconnect from the relationship, she may not say anything. She may not let you know that she's feeling angry or upset or unseen immediately. Sometimes she'll keep it within herself because she wants to dignify you as a man and give you an opportunity to give you a chance to make her feel appreciated and valued and respected and loved. And if that's not happening, she may not say something right away, but on the inside, she starts to feel emotionally unseen and she starts to disconnect from the relationship. This is a very tender spot that you want to make sure that you pay very close attention to, fellas, because if you don't take proper care, if you don't take immediate steps, as I mentioned previously, a woman goes through emotional disconnection in different phases. And you want to make sure at this early point that you catch it as soon as possible. It's almost as if a person is going to catch a cold and they see the symptoms starting to develop. It's very important to treat that with some medication immediately so it doesn't grow into something much bigger. And it's the same thing within a relationship. If the woman's emotional needs, concerns are not being met early in the relationship, she will slowly start to disconnect. Again, let me mention this. She may not even know it. And you, as the man, you won't realize it until it's too late. So it's important to make sure that you're doing what you can, you're communicating, you're talking, and listening very closely, not only to the words that she tells you, but also to how she's responding, how she's acting. Because if she starts to go silent, if you start to notice that she's starting to withdraw, that could be a telltale sign that something is happening underneath to where she is starting to emotionally disconnect. I want to give it to women because women often have to endure neglect, not being listened to, not being valued, not being respected, and all the while trying to maintain love and respect and appreciation for the man that she's with. And while he's not really paying her close attention emotionally, he may be taking care of things materially, he may be taking care of things physically. However, if he's not taking care of her emotionally, a lot of women have to endure that situation. And sometimes they will endure it for a very long time until she starts to notice a shift within herself, and then she starts to realize that hey, she is not being loved and appreciated and valued as much as she needs to be, and then she realizes that she is starting to emotionally disconnect. Now, again, this is just an introduction video to talk about the importance that a man has to take, or the steps that a man has to take to ensure that if he wants to keep that relationship, if he really loves her and he wants to make sure that that relationship doesn't fall apart, he has to make sure that don't wait till it's too late, but he has to respond very early and notice the signs that the woman that he's with is starting to emotionally disconnect. I'm going to be talking about this in great detail in successive videos. So pay close attention, subscribe to this channel. And if you want to go deeper on this, I have several resources that are available in my community. The link's in the description that talks about emotional disconnection for a woman. It's a fantastic resource, as well as why does she feel distant? That's a resource specifically built for men to understand the signs, what they can do to prevent or to correct, so to speak, the emotional disconnection that starts to take place within a woman. Be sure to subscribe to my community and subscribe to this channel to pay close attention to the video series that's coming very shortly.
Oh, I'm just here to check on you. Are you okay? Describe it in words, you know what to say.